I was foolish to spend time with him. I was one of many people who regret ever knowing him. Every minute I spent with him, I regret, and I, apologize that I did that.
I also met Jeffrey Epstein exactly one time. I regretted it from the second I stepped in the door. I had nightmares about it afterwards.
So you're sitting down there having cocktails while Bill Clinton's getting a massage from some girl who's rubbing her tits against the back of his head, whether knowingly or unknowingly having sex with underage girls.
Everybody wants to be.
Maybe some guys, that was their thing.
Sure.
Because it seemed like with Epstein, that was his thing.
Yeah.
Joe Rogan's latest remarks have sent shockwaves across the internet. In a discussion that quickly went viral, he addressed the Epstein files and referenced people from his own circle whose names are now being widely discussed online, some of them among the most powerful figures in the world. At the same time, millions of newly released documents, emails, and media files connected to Jeffrey Epstein are fueling intense public debate. In this video, we break down the names being talked about, the context behind them, and why these revelations have reignited questions the elite have avoided for years, all through commentary, analysis, and public reaction.
It's so tangled. The whole thing is just, I think everybody who looks at it realizes this is a rabbit hole that just goes to the center of the earth. And there's so many people involved in that. Here's the big question that people ask. If there was a Jeffrey Epstein, and it seems like all these things he is involved in, is there a Jeffrey Epstein right now that we don't know about?
There's a million of them.
A million of them.
I mean, this is why I find this. This is not the core of what I focus on, but I find it a really interesting field of study because it helps understand so many other U.S. government institutions and the relationship between government and private business. Jeffrey Epstein is part of a class of what are effectively professional fixers. And this is a kind of class of professional who sits not really within a particular government or private sector institution, but in the kind of sticky layer between them that connects them all.
Less than a week ago, newly released court records connected to the Epstein investigations reignited global attention. The material includes millions of pages of documents, along with extensive video and image evidence, much of it heavily redacted. Names are obscured, faces blurred, and key details withheld, yet the broader picture has sparked intense online debate. As people analyze what can be seen, the same categories of power keep resurfacing in public discussion: politicians, billionaires, corporate leaders, and even members of royal circles. From flight records and emails to sworn testimony cited in reporting, these materials continue to raise questions about how deeply Epstein's network extended and why so many connections remain unexplained.
You're telling me there's a place where they bring elites to compromise them with underage girls and they film them? Really? Like, what? Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
It's like, no, President Clinton's been there. Everyone's been there. Like, what? It sounds like nonsense. And not only is it true, but people keep getting fucking murdered for it. Did you see that latest Clinton advisor that got murdered? Got it?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Hung with an extension cord, shot himself in the chest 30 miles from his house, and they're calling it a suicide.
And now even Elon Musk is asking, where's the clientele list?
Yeah.
We should probably see who's been to that island.
Yeah, we should probably see who's been to that.
This is where the story takes a far more unsettling turn. Joe Rogan has said that Epstein's island wasn't something he learned about recently. He was hearing whispers about it years before mainstream media ever touched the story. According to Rogan, Alex Jones had been warning him for a long time that something deeply wrong was happening there. At the time, Rogan admits he dismissed it as exaggerated, unproven, and too extreme to take seriously. But with everything that has surfaced since, he now says that's what makes it so disturbing. The idea that these warnings existed long before the public was ready to hear them.
he was the guy who told me about Epstein's Island more than a decade ago, and I thought it was the craziest thing I'd ever heard. I was like, what are you saying? There's an island, like it sounds like a plot in a movie. There's an island where they fly famous rich scientists and politicians, and they compromise them with underage girls and get it on film so they could use it against them. I'm like, what? That sounds like lizard people. It sounds like, 5G creates COVID. Same thing. Yeah. But turns out it was true. And it's one of many things. He was the first one to warn me about a social credit score system. He's like, they're going to try to implement a social credit score system, and your money is going to be tied. They'll have centralized digital currency, and your money will be tied to your social credit score system, and you step out of line, you won't be able to buy things. You won't be able to travel. You won't be able to do anything. They're going to try to keep you within a 15-minute radius of your home, and they're starting to do that in places.
With the latest release of records, the bigger picture is finally starting to take shape. And the names being discussed? They're the same ones that have quietly circulated for years, mentioned in passing, hinted at online, then quickly brushed aside. For a long time, these connections were labeled coincidences or dismissed as unproven. What's changed now is context. The newer material places those same names along clear timelines, repeated points of contact, and documented proximity to Epstein's wider network. When patterns start repeating across years and sources, public discussion shifts, not because of rumor, but because the dots are becoming harder to ignore.
And the chairman of a prominent law firm is stepping down over his association with Jeffrey Epstein. Paul Weiss law chair Brad Karp says in a statement, quote, "Recent reporting has created a distraction and has placed a focus on me that's not in the best interest of the firm." The firm says Karp will remain with the firm, just in a different role. Senior Washington reporter Will Staken is here for more. Hi, Will. So what's the latest on this growing list of prominent people facing scrutiny over the Epstein files?
Yeah, Diane, well I think, Mr. Karp right here is kind of the latest fallout from these Epstein files. Like you said, the really powerful law firm Paul Weiss announced that Mr. Karp would be stepping down after his name appeared in these files. Now, the law firm did not give a reason why Mr. Karp is stepping down, and previously the law firm denied Mr. Karp had any wrongdoing, but with this release of these files, his name appears in the files, mostly with his assistant trying to schedule meetings with Mr. Epstein. But there's an email between Mr. Karp and Epstein where he's asking about if he could help, get his son some kind of job in an upcoming Woody Allen film. So I think these emails, obviously are continuing to have fallout across, widespread industries. It's kind of the latest fallout here. We saw recently that popular wellness influencer Peter Attia also stepped down from his role at the protein company Dave.
One of the most closely watched figures in the latest discussion is Bill Gates. Following the document release, online attention has focused on references that include a redacted image and emails described in reporting as part of the broader Epstein material. The details circulating have sparked intense speculation across social media. Gates has publicly pushed back, calling the claims false and misleading. He has stated that any allegations suggesting misconduct are untrue and has pointed to the possibility that Epstein attempted to use false narratives to pressure or damage his reputation. Gates has consistently denied wrongdoing, emphasizing that accusations tied to these materials should not be treated as established fact.
Listen to Melinda Gates, the former wife of Bill Gates, talking about all of this.
Whatever questions remain there of what I can't even begin to know all of it, those questions are for those people and for even my ex-husband. They need to answer to those things, not me. Well, and I am so happy to be away from all the muck that was there.
She's happy she's no longer married to Bill Gates. She's happy to be away from the muck, as she put it. And we've just seen this interview with Bill Gates on Channel 9.
It's factually true that I was only at dinners. I never went to the island. I never met any women. And so, the more that comes out, the more clear it'll be that although the time was a mistake, it had nothing to do with that kind of behavior.
There we go. I never met any women. Wow, this is getting curiouser and curiouser, Esther.
Yes, it is. And unfortunately for Bill Gates, now he has to probably deal with the insinuation, at least for many people, that Melinda chose to divorce him and get herself out of that world. Also because of his association or his tenuous links, which he denies, with Jeffrey Epstein. I mean, the allegation that he presumably got an STD from a Russian prostitute that was associated with Jeffrey Epstein was actually written in a note by Jeffrey Epstein to himself.
Another deeply personal aspect of this story touches on Bill Gates' marriage. Melinda Gates has publicly stated that Epstein's connection played a role in her decision to leave. In interviews, she described the revelations as troubling and emotionally painful, highlighting concerns that had been building long before their divorce. She pointed to Bill's continued interactions with Epstein even after his conviction, noting that it made her question his judgment and the foundation of their relationship.
So met Jeffrey Epstein exactly one time.
Did you?
Yes, because I wanted to see who this man was. And I regretted it from the second I stepped in the door. He was abhorrent. He was evil personified. I had nightmares about it afterwards. So, my heart breaks for these young women because that's how I felt. And here I'm an older woman. My God, I feel terrible for those young women. It's awful.
I have to acknowledge the elephant in the room at this moment. Your ex-husband, Bill, is named in the newest tranche of Epstein files. And there are a new alleged details about his past behavior, and I want to give you the opportunity to respond in whatever way you want to.
Well, let me say this. I think we're having a reckoning as a society, right? No girl should ever be put in the situation that they were put in by Epstein and whatever was going on with all of the various people around him. No girl. I mean, it's beyond heartbreaking, right? I remember being those ages those girls were. I remember my daughters being those ages, right? So for me, it's personally hard whenever those details come up, right? Because brings back memories of some very, very painful times in my marriage, but I have moved on from that. I purposely pushed it away and I moved on. I'm in a really unexpected, beautiful place in my life. So whatever questions remain there of what I can't even begin to know all of it, those questions are for those people and for even my ex-husband.
Bill Gates has continued to maintain that Epstein attempted to blackmail him, and he isn't the only one making that claim. Across the files, multiple high-profile individuals have said Epstein tried to pressure them, allegedly collecting emails, private communications, and sensitive information as leverage. On the surface, that explanation sounds plausible. Epstein was known to surround himself with influential people, and several witnesses have suggested he kept detailed records. But this is where the story starts raising harder questions. If so many people believe they were being extorted, why did meetings continue? Why did access remain open? This is the point where Joe Rogan introduces a theory that reframes how Epstein's influence may have really operated.
Let me just get real and say,
if I gun to your head, what do you think your best assessment of what Epstein, who was Epstein, who was he working for?
well, I don't know, right? So I'm just guessing. Everybody wants to say he was working for the Mossad. He very well could have been. He could have been working for the CIA. He could have been a guy who was on his own, but also working with them, right? Like a guy that they used, but they never fully endorsed.
Like an asset?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a guy who could move money around.
Right.
He definitely...
Good at laundering money.
The moving money around stuff was very weird because he had money through no way that anybody could ever explain.
Yeah.
He had an enormous amount of money through no way that nobody could ever explain. Which, if you're state-funded, you're funded by Israel, and Israel's funded by America, and, there's also NGOs and nonprofits, and there's ways to move money around where you can give this guy money.
Yeah.
So he was like Weinstein, who is an economist, right? Weinstein's a legitimate mathematician.
Eric?
Yeah. So when Eric met him, his first inclination was he was a fraud.
He's a construct.
Yeah, a construct. And did he tell you the whole story about the girl sitting on his lap?
Yep.
So Epstein, while he's meeting with Eric Weinstein for the first time, has a beautiful girl sitting on his lap, and a woman, I shouldn't say girl. He said she was like in her 20s, and she's sitting on his lap, and he's bouncing around, so her tits are juggling around. While
he's asking math questions.
Yeah, talking serious. So he was obviously nerd fishing. He was fishing for nerds, and I think he caught
one thing becomes increasingly clear in public discussion. Epstein didn't operate in isolation. Figures don't simply rise from obscurity into circles that include royalty, heads of state, and global billionaires without introductions and approval. That level of access doesn't happen by accident. Epstein's presence in elite spaces has led many commentators to question how those doors were opened in the first place. At that level, relationships are shaped by gatekeepers, intermediaries, and institutions that decide who belongs and who doesn't. Royal families and power centers don't engage casually. That's why this remains the most uncomfortable part of the story. The suggestion that Epstein's influence may have been enabled by people with far greater authority than him.
Guys that wound up going to that island, they probably thought, this is great, we get to party.
Nothing's free.
And they probably felt like they were rock stars because they get to hang out with the intellectual elite on an island with a guy who's just a billionaire philanthropist who's eccentric, who just loves women. He's a professed bachelor, and it all seemed too good to be true.
It's so true.
Because it was.
Yeah.
So I think he was an asset, whether or not it was for the Mossad strictly or Israel strictly or the United States strictly, whether it was a CIA thing, whatever, I don't know. But I think it was probably a part of a blackmail compromise effort.
Yeah.
Because those guys, there's a fucking dirty secret about these people that are in Congress, and they party, okay? They're regular guys.
Yeah.
And regular women, and they're in their 30s or 40s or whatever they are, and every now and then they do coke. And they get drunk, and
Human beings.
Remember that DC madam that had a whole book of people, and then she wound up committing suicide? She said, I'm not suicidal, and
See ya.
Yeah. Because there's probably a lot like that. And
yeah.
those kind of honeypot operations, they let these freaks know, like, hey, you're going to be safe with me. Charlie will take care of everything. Look, Bill Clinton used to come here. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
You know, we're going to go to the
and
island.
that's a big endorsement. It's like presidents were here, so it must be a secure area.
Exactly.
I can get
we
down.
are on the island with Bill.
Yeah.
This is fine.
And
We're
all these
fine.
girls show up, and you're like, well, this is Christmas in July.
Bill is really interested in string theory. He'd like to talk to you about string theory. So you're sitting down there having cocktails while Bill Clinton's getting a massage from some girl who's rubbing her tits against the back of his head while she's massaging him.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, that's really interesting. Hey, I'm kind of tired. I'm gonna take a nap.
Another thing about black holes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think they all thought that it was this lovely exchange of powerful people and brilliant people. And then they were just getting dirt on all of them. Guys cheating on their wives, guys, whether knowingly or unknowingly, having sex with underage girls.
Everybody
And
wants to be.
Maybe some guys, that was their thing.
Sure.
Because it seemed like with Epstein, that was his thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I think too. I don't think there's any evidence to either. I think it's all been. I don't think there was collected with that plea deal, and I don't think there's any list that's going to point to. There's no smoking gun. That's
I
all
don't know
been-
about that.
I think it's all been taken care of. I think that it's. I think you could open up every file.
But that's the truth. Why did they have all those files? Why did they parade around with these binders?
Because
and
a
say,
lot of-
do you remember those
Yeah.
photo ops that they said? Like, look, they did like a thing. We have the Epstein files right here,
Right.
and they had binders. Like, what kind of political theater is that? If you don't really have the Epstein
It
files,
was
like,
probably
what is
theater. And what I mean by that is I think like if they are keeping something quiet, it's because it's video of underage girls or it's video of the victims who don't want that to be out there. And the Justice Department cannot make that public. They cannot bring that to Congress. That's all sealed for their privacy, right?
Well, that is the argument, but then they're saying now that there are no files. They're saying there's no video.
I believe that. Don't you?
I don't know. I think they have video. I think if you've got an island and you want compromise on people, you can't just have hearsay.
I would say I would agree.
I watched him that girl Let's sue him. No, that's not how it works. You have to have video, and then you have to show it to the guy, like Mr. Clinton.
Yeah.
Have a seat.
At first, this angle may sound hard to believe, but the latest document release has added another uncomfortable layer to the discussion. The records have fueled online debate about Epstein's proximity to figures connected to Donald Trump's broader political circle. Trump has repeatedly denied wrongdoing and has said he cut ties with Epstein years ago, though his name appears frequently in the newly released material, largely as part of broader records and references. More attention is focused on individuals associated with Trump, including Steve Bannon, Elon Musk, and former Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick, whose names appear in emails and messages now circulating publicly. These materials have led commentators to question whether contact with Epstein continued beyond his earlier legal troubles. Elon Musk's name, in particular, appears in correspondence dated between 2012 and 2013, referencing potential meetings and travel discussions. Musk has firmly denied visiting Epstein's island, denied flying on Epstein's aircraft, and has said the emails are being taken out of context. What the documents do indicate is that communication existed, a detail that continues to raise questions and fuel debate, rather than provide clear answers.
And a top Justice Department official says the review of the Jeffrey Epstein files is over. The same official indicated there would be no new charges. Now the Trump administration is facing backlash from Epstein survivors and Democrats. This was California Congressman Rogan yesterday.
There is a demand for elite accountability, but the survivors' lawyers that I've talked to have said that the survivors are still upset. They're upset that many of their names accidentally came out without redactions, and they want to make sure the rest of the files come out.
CBS News Justice correspondent Scott MacFarlane joins us from our Washington bureau with more on this. Scott, you've been sifting through as much of this as you can. What's in this so-called final batch?
It's a process. We're still working through millions of pages here, Errol. And it's worth noting these were released more than 40 days after the legal deadline for the Department of Justice to do so. No one besides Epstein and former associate Ghislaine Maxwell has been charged, but the Department of Justice insisting its work is done has only fueled more controversy.
Joe Rogan didn't shy away from criticizing how these files have been handled. He highlighted something many viewers find hard to ignore: the release process itself. If there were truly nothing sensitive left to protect, the material would have been made public in full, without delay. Instead, the documents have emerged in staggered waves, heavily redacted and often lacking clear explanations. Even after congressional pressure, officials acknowledged that portions remained withheld and deadlines were missed. Rogan argues that this pattern naturally fuels suspicion, raising questions about why information is being so tightly controlled and what details may still be out of public view.
Epstein releases, like before we got started, first of all,
the photo dump and the emails, it's nuts.
But it's also they're doing it so slowly.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you guys have had this stuff for a year.
We were promised multiple times, it's coming, it's coming.
Doesn't it seem like you could just throw all that into AI at this stage of the game?
Yes.
And just redact the names of the victims and let's go?
Yeah, of course.
It seems like that would take 5 minutes.
I mean, it feels like, you can't help but feel like the administration is just like watching their back, and that's why it's happened.
Watching someone's back?
Yeah.
I mean, it's all speculative why they haven't released it, but it's not good. It's not good for everybody's confidence.
No.
It's not good that this thing was going on, that they had this bizarre blackmail operation running. That's very weird.
Very strange.
Very weird. But it kind of makes sense. Because if you're a 60-year-old billionaire and you're a freak and you like to get your freak on, but unfortunately you're a gigantic software developer and everybody knows who you are.
Yeah.
Like, it's hard to get your freak on.
Well, that's the thing is, like, it makes sense when you go like, oh, some of these dudes really liked visiting that place.
Yeah.
It's like, that's the only place they can go.
Right.
You can't go anywhere else.
Right. And that's why they set it up for them.
Yeah.
Eric Weinstein said that to me once. And I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense.
If you're the former president of the United States, you can't go to a nightclub.
Yeah, he said, I think there are people out there that provide experiences for certain people that have a hunger for them.
Yeah.
I was like, of course. And that's also how they compromise people too, right?
Oh, yeah.
That's how they get you to vote the way they want you to vote and play ball. Bobby, we got video, you sucking a dick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you want to do?
What do you want to do? Yeah. Because, like, I bet all those people have something on them. That's
They
how they
have
stay
to.
in the game.
They have to.
It's like you skull and bones. You got to suck the dick.
Well, look at, like,
otherwise we can't trust you.
For the Epstein shit, like, look at the level of people that we're visiting. I mean, it's all at the highest level of influence, power, and fame.
Yeah.
And so you go, yeah, this dude wants to do some wild shit. He can't go to Cheetahs and get it done. You know?
Yeah.
You can't do it. He's got to go somewhere. Yeah. What sounds good? A private island.
Yeah, he can't just like order up a call girl.
It's too risky.
Where are you going? I'm going to Captain Billionaire's house to suck his dick. I do it every Tuesday.
By Rogan's own framing, these files may only be scratching the surface. During the conversation, he referenced how certain older theories resurface whenever large datasets, like flight logs, emails, and partially unredacted records, are released. As more material is reviewed, online communities begin looking for patterns the mainstream media tends to avoid or move past quickly. That dynamic has renewed discussion around topics like Pizzagate, a theory that was widely debunked following the 2016 Comet ping pong incident. While the newest document release includes numerous casual references and phrases that some online commentators find curious, there is no verified evidence supporting criminal claims tied to that theory. What is clear is how quickly speculation returns when transparency feels incomplete. What's your take on the latest revelations? Let us know in the comments, and subscribe for continued breakdowns as more information becomes public